So for more insight on all of this, it's affecting so many people now. We're joined by Mark Neveau, a former FEMA coordinator. And Mark, thank you for joining us. You brought up an interesting stat, and you said we speak a lot about wildfires here in California and how much those cost. But you say flooding, like what we're seeing here in Guerneville, actually costs more.
Expensive, very, very expensive. For instance, the California wildfires last year will probably run approximately $30 billion in damage. When we're talking about hurricanes like in Texas, we're probably talking about $160 billion.
Like Harvey, like Hurricane
Harvey, exactly. And that's just one hurricane. That's not talking about Florida and the rest of the part of the country. So we're talking about damage that's extensive. And the difficulty with that is that flooding insurance comes from the federal government. You know, private sector, because the risk is so great, they don't want to venture into that. So the National Flood Insurance Program is $20 billion in debt right now.
Wow.
So you can see across the country, it is a major problem with flooding. The #1 disaster in terms of cost and damage, bar none.
So where does all the money come from? I mean, I know you said it's coming from federal funding. So with the wildfires and all the other natural disasters we've seen here in California, many over the last couple of years now, how is this straining the funding for people who really need this assistance? Yeah,
the difficulty is in this particular case is that the folks who have experienced this, they do understand. They've been through this before, and so they try to plan for it. They elevate. You notice a lot of the homes in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, Guerneville, Monterey are elevated because they know this is going to be a problem, but they've got to recover from that, and it's expensive to have to go in, tear out all that sheetrock, all that carpet to get your business and your home back to normal.
So the number here is FEMA is only giving up about $33,000 on average, and most people are looking at $91,000 in damage they need to repair their lives.
Yes.
So people are not going to get anything close to what they are looking for to get their homes repaired in Guerneville and Sonoma County.
Yep, good point. And in this particular case, because of the size of the disaster, now this is devastating, don't get me wrong, but it probably will not reach the limit of federal assistance. So whatever financial assistance will come from the state. And you saw the governor declare a state of emergency yesterday. The idea behind that is to allow the local agencies to go through the state to do contracting. It waives some of the procurement processes so that they can get goods and services to that area quicker and less costly. So that's the good news. Bad news is that FEMA probably will not be involved in this particular incident.
And we are seeing that Sonoma County, you heard many residents there in Guerneville say, we've flooded before, we're going to flood again. They seem to be prone to flooding. I think 34%, they make up 34%, is that right?
Yes.
Of the flood insurance program. So realistically, people who may have had their homes flooded or their vehicles submerged, what are they going to see and who should they be contacting?
Well, the California Office of Emergency Services has a hotline and a website that they can go to that will provide assistance to them. A lot of it's nonprofit work, but in most cases it's going to be shouldered by themselves. In some cases you might be able to get small business administration loans, but for most of these folks it's got to come out of private funding for them unless they have flood insurance.
Right.
And that is rare.
That is very difficult to get nowadays because of all the hurricanes that we've had over the last many years. A lot of insurance companies say, look, we're not going to offer this anymore. So I want to get back to a finer point on the National Flood Insurance Program because that program has been in trouble for many, many years, and we continue to have larger hurricanes, flooding like this hitting all over the United States. Yet this program is supposed to be controlled by Congress, and they keep kicking the bucket down the road.
Yes, absolutely.
So what needs to be done here?
Well, in this particular area, because it's so flood prone, they call it a high hazard area. So to buy flood insurance can be upwards of $20,000 a year, which is cost prohibitive for a lot of folks. So what they have to rely upon is their own funding. Now, in the flood insurance particular case, because the costs are so high, that to pass on the cost to the policyholders, citizens, it's just astronomical. So when they tried to do that initially, the rates went up so quickly and so high that there was pushback from citizens, and the Congress backed away from that. And they still have not fully funded the flood program, and the question will be, will that ever happen? So if they're not fully funding it, basically what happens is citizens, the federal government, through assistance to some degree, are helping these people.
Discouraging news for people, especially people in Guerneville who say there's going to be another one coming. We've got more rain on the way, and so hopefully they can get this figured out with.
And you can see the
leaders.
marks on the walls and the businesses from all the different flooding periods, and you know they do know that it takes place, so that's the good part. And they took some precautions, so that's good news.
So they just can't seem to figure out where the money would come from the NFIP program to continue to make it operational, I guess.
Yeah, in essence, what it's doing is the taxpayers are going to continue to fund that and not pass it on to policyholders because it's just cost prohibitive.
just
So they're going to, as you said very aptly, they're going to keep kicking that can down the road.
Well, and these disasters keep happening.
Absolutely.
Mark Neveau, FEMA coordinator, thank you so much for your insight.
Mark.
Nice to see you both. Thank you.
Thanks so much.